you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Our Lady Sings that makes official. Welcome to the oldest living podcast known to man that is still broadcasting on a daily basis. We're a handful of oldest podcasts left, and boy, some of the folks have been dying off like flies, leaving us some of the last man standing. Plus, we're the only ones who are doing it daily. So be sure to support the show after all these years, because we're getting old, man. We got to buy canes and walkers and all that stuff, and Geritol and all that stuff. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author is brought to you by Majestic Authors Media, specializing in strategic marketing and publishing to help authors reach their ideal audience and maximize their book success, turning powerful messages into global impact, one story at a time. Today, amazing young man with us, we're going to be talking to about his book called Memoirs of Human I'm sorry, let me recut that. Memoirs of a Human Trafficker, My Journey, a Travel Guide by Peter Storrer. We're going to get into it with him and find out some of his deets and some of the interesting stories he has to bring to the book. Peter is an author and traveler whose life experiences inspired his memoir, and through his writing, he shares personal stories of survival, hardship, and self-discovery gathered from across years of traveling through challenging and unpredictable environments across Southeast Asia and South America. His memoir reflects on the choices, struggles, and lessons that have shaped his journey, offering readers an honest, thought-provoking perspective on resilience, human nature, and life in some of the world's most dangerous and complex situations. Welcome to the show, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you. And do you want me to refer you as Pete or Peter during the show?
By Pete. My mom calls me Peter, and that's when I go in the fetal position and think of their...
Oh, that wouldn't make for a very good show if you did it in the fetal position, so I'll call you Pete. So, Pete, give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs?
If they go to Peter Storrer, that's STORRER.com, and that gives the links to my book. It's my website for my book, and it shows other interviews I've done as well as a cinematic book trailer I've had made.
All right. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book?
Inside the book, it basically starts with when I first arrived in Southeast Asia, because I had served a mission for my church with Cambodian people and Thai stuff. So I decided to go back over there. And while I was there, there starts off with like things that happened in Cambodia. They had a military coup back in '97, right after we arrived. So we talked about our story of fleeing and had to cross over country to get out of there.
Oh, really? So you went there as a missionary to help them, and the government collapses? Is that correct?
That happened after. This was about 4 years after my mission when I went back over there. And then, the government collapsed, and then we had to flee overland, and it was just quite the journey getting out of there. And then when we arrived in Thailand, I just kind of stuck around, and that's where I ended up meeting my wife, and I ended up meeting different people, and that's what led me into, I guess, the dark world of human trafficking as well, which I entered naively, not realizing what it really was. But back then, no one talked about human trafficking, so it wasn't really on my radar.
Yeah. So how do you end up in human trafficking, and what was the context of this? Because I always get confused of what human trafficking means. Some people use it for like when people are immigrants or importing trucks, and maybe I just don't know the correct definition of it. Some people, it's for women who work the streets. How do you define it, or how does it define in the context of your book and your story?
See, before I went back over there to Southeast Asia, I went down to Florida, went to flight school, and I learned to fly.
Oh, wow.
And became a pilot. And then I don't know, if you talk to anyone who's a pilot, the first thing they'll tell you about themselves is they're a pilot. And
hey, it's a lot of work to earn that license. I would too.
I went all the way to commercial, multi-engine, instrument rated, and whatever. So I'm a certified flight instructor too, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
So when I got over there to Southeast Asia, and some of the things, I was probably flirting with some people, some girls and whatnot, and I was telling them I was a pilot. And next thing I know, at one of the schools, because I taught English and I taught computers and stuff like that to Thai kids and even adults. And one of the schools, they brought these Chinese guys in. Turned out they were like basically the money behind these schools. And these were schools for rich kids. And these Chinese guys wanted to talk to me, and they spoke English very, very British, I'd say, like how they spoke eloquently and stuff. And they started asking me, inquiring about me. So you're a pilot? And I was like, oh, yeah, I can fly airplanes. And they're like, oh, okay. And they started pushing on that, like asking me what I thought and whatever. And then they left. And so it was like no big deal. And a few months later, they showed back up asking me more questions and writing stuff down. It's like they wanted to know and what was needed and what was necessary. And then I found it because they would use the word niece. They kept saying niece when they talked about these girls that were stuck in South America and they needed to help them out. And so I'm not sure, because they'll use the same word in Chinese or Thai or Cambodian, these languages. They say niece as well, just a young girl about that age. So I'm not sure if they're talking about their own personal nieces or at least at the time, or if they were talking to anyways, because they were speaking English, but they just translated it directly across. So I wasn't sure.
Maybe they're trying to give you the impression that they were related and these weren't people that they were smuggling. Yeah,
and they said, stuck and we need to get them out. And they said, we thought maybe you could fly them out of there.
Wow.
And see, being back to my pilot, all of a sudden, that's all I could think about. Oh, wow, I get to fly an airplane.
Yeah, I get to fly and meet girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Montel Williams used to come to Utah, where you're at. I think, do you still live in Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was going off your shirt. Used to come to Utah with his plane, and he would pick up the girls at the Market Street Grill and take them on his plane. That was his closer. I had a big modeling agency, so that's how I know that data.
Okay.
But yeah, I was going to say, you got your license in Florida. You could have went with cocaine shipments, and I'm just doing jokes. That's what we do here on the show.
Oh, I do the same thing. In fact, part of the book, when the police there in Guyana showed up, part of the thing, they started ripping the seats out of the plane and they were all cut up. And I was like, how'd these seats get cut up? And that's when it dawned on me. I was like, I don't even know what these people really sent me for. So I kind of started to crap myself a little bit. And there was no drugs or anything, but that's what they were looking for, I think. One of the things they were looking for.
Yeah. You got one of those little Cessnas or something. What type of plane were you flying so people can picture this in their head? Was it a
Cessna 310. It's a twin engine, small, 4-place twin engine, like twin, that I was supposed to fly. It never got off the ground. And I'm not even sure if it did fly. The electronics worked. I flipped on the power switches and everything during my walk around. I heard the gyros spinning up and all that kind of stuff. I saw the radio flash on. It had a radio frequency. But again, like I said, I never tried to start the motors because about that time, that's when all the police showed up.
Yeah. Now, so we want people to buy the book so they can get the full story. But can you give us a little tease out? Like, how long did this take place that maybe you were doing these flights? Or did you get past the first one? What happened there, if you can tell us?
Yeah, that's when I got there, I was told, like I say, I was going to get these guys' nieces. When I got there were 2 Chinese girls, didn't speak a bit of English. I speak very little Chinese. And so we didn't really communicate. I was told there was a Chinese guy there. His name was Mr. Cao. And he said, okay, tomorrow I need you at the airport. I will pick you up and take you to the airport at 9 a.m. And they showed me the airplane that day. And then I waited and waited and waited and no one showed up. And the airport was just right down the road from the hotel I was staying in, which actually belonged to this Mr. Cao. And so I left the hotel and I walked over there and there was a guy there that I'd never seen before and the 2 Chinese girls that I'd met once already. I said, okay, I guess I'll start doing my walk around the plane. You know, that's a normal thing you see pilots do to make sure the aircraft is airworthy. And I was doing those kind of things. I flipped on the power, and I heard the gyro spin up. I saw the radio frequencies light up in the thing, but I didn't have a headset, so I guess I was using a handheld or something to talk to, because I saw one of those there, attached to the radio. And I was just looking on the inside, looking at the fuel tanks where they were showing how much is, and I hadn't even gotten to the outside to do my walk around the outside yet, when it was a white 1970-ish type Land Rover came sliding up, and all these black-clad night ops looking guys jump out with machine guns, and they're pointing them right at the plane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I got out, and that guy that was there that I'd never seen before, he just put his arm straight up in the air. And the thing was, Mr. Tsao and those people weren't there. I'm curious, why aren't these guys here? No one picked me up. I had to walk over there, and the girls, no one was there, so we're all just kind of like, the girls started crying, and they told us to get down. So I got down on my knees, and I put my hands behind my head, and the girls did the same thing to the left of me. And that other guy just stood there with his hands in the air. And they say they speak in Guyana English, but I called it jive. It might be more like a Creole English, like Haitians speak a Creole French, where it's not real.
Yeah.
Because I only understood maybe 50% of what they were saying. I think I heard them tell that guy to leave, and he took off running. And then me and the girls, then they came and they grabbed us. They cuffed me. They didn't cuff the girls, but they put us in the back of the Land Rover. And then they took us down to a police station, which is kind of like, it's like a John Wayne movie, like in the old. Yeah, it was pretty rickety and just wood. And there was a lady sitting there at the desk. And the first thing they did is they dragged me into a back room and started interrogating me.
Wow.
And
so they go from there. So this is a story about the whole adventure of what you go through in this thing. And I guess you find at one point that you were told by the Chinese gentleman in Thailand, and the reality in Guyana didn't add up when you realized it. Was that when the police showed up then? Yeah.
Things weren't, because Mr. Tsao, he kept asking me once I arrived, he kept saying, "Hey, where's my money? I'm owed money. Where's the money that the guys in Hong Kong?" He kept calling, and I think that's where they originated from. The Chinese guys that I met in Thailand originated in Hong Kong, but he kept asking them where the money was, and I don't know. No one gave me any money. I don't have.
Show me the money.
And he goes, "I need my money," and I go, "Wish I could help you." I go, "I'm just here to get his nieces out." And they would kind of laugh, him and the other one.
They would laugh when you said it. It's funny, man. They're giggling. You're like, why are they giggling every time I call them nieces?
Oh, wow. He big sucker.
He big sucker. This is quite scary. You're in a foreign country. You don't have the same rights you would have on American soil, right? You're still an American citizen, but yeah, you don't know some of these backwood countries and stuff. And this is what year is this again?
This was in 1999.
Wow. So which was more scary or nervous, fleeing from Cambodia or being incarcerated in Guyana and arrested?
I think Guyana was more scary because in Cambodia, there were people shooting each other in the streets, bombs exploding, but they weren't pointed at me. Whereas in Guyana, those guys pointed them right at us. They had right up to my forehead when they put me in cuffs. And then it's just, so that was probably the most scary part. And then I get to jail. I don't get a phone call.
Yeah.
Anything. And see, I guess in these third world countries, your family, if you're in jail, your family feeds you. So if you don't have no family, how do you get fed? So I spent probably about 8 days with really no food. In the morning, it's kind of funny. Again, like an old Western, bread and water. They put these baguettes through the slot in the door, put through this water I thought was tea because it was kind of brown and it was hot. And it tasted like dirt. And I'd never drank tea before, so I didn't know what tea. And I would tell people, "Oh, tea's nasty. It tastes like dirt." Ever since, people, "No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't." And then it dawned on me one day because I actually tasted tea, and I was like, "Oh wow, you know what? I think it was just boiled dirty water."
Probably, yeah. That sounds really awful. That does not sound fun. So, who do you believe the girls truly were? Were they girls who are being shuttled for human trafficking and resell somewhere else or something like they do?
That's what I suspect. I don't know 100%. They were about my age, 20s. I think I was about 24 at the time, and they were somewhere around that age. And they were, yes, I have a feeling, because where I first got, do you remember that guy that owns the Patriots? And he got busted a number of years ago down at a massage parlor.
Yeah, there's a massage parlor, rub and tugs, we call them in Las Vegas.
And that's when I first heard that. I was like, and they were saying they were Chinese girls, and then they were talking. I remember seeing his interview and the police that they were showing on the news, and the police were like, "Are you aware?" And they were going to make him take classes on human trafficking. And that's the first time it's like the light bulb went on in my head. Wait, those girls were meant for this.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. And so I don't want to give away a lot of the story because it sounds a little bit like a novel and a cliffhanger. Because so we don't want to give away too much. And then what would you do differently if you had the chance? You should have stayed in Florida and moved cocaine for Tony Montana.
Yeah.
See, I've watched Scarface too many times, folks.
No, I got you.
We got arrested, but at least you would have got a phone call and get fed.
Exactly. What if there was anything I would do differently? I probably, because my wife was saying, this sounds shady. Before I was going, I was like, it's just a flying airplane. And like I say, all I think about was, man, I get to fly an airplane. This is going to be cool.
Get paid.
I really didn't think anything else, but I think I would have listened to my wife instead of going all half-cocked.
Yeah, wives usually try and keep you from going off half-cocked. I don't know what that means, but it sounded funny in my head. We do the jokes, folks.
Yeah.
So you go through all this stuff, and what do you believe about public perspective concerning human traffic and the reality of it? Do humans, do we understand what it is? Clearly, I don't know the exact definition of it.
See, that's the thing. I'm not exactly sure myself, but I think most of us picture Epstein Island where there's children being taken.
Yeah.
And then I find out, no, these girls were adults.
Yeah.
And maybe they made a decision like I did. Someone promised them something like, hey, and take you to America and you get a big rich husband. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Were you supposed to fly them to America? Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I honestly, I don't know where their final destination was. Just to get them out of Guyana. And they told me Mr. Tsao was the one who said, what we're going to have you do is fly them into Venezuela.
Oh.
And, okay, taking to Venezuela, it's right next door, not difficult. And then one thing, the guy in the embassy, when I did get out on bond and was able to talk to some people and make a phone call to my folks to get me some money to get me out of there, the guy at the embassy was like, wow, you're lucky you never made that flight. And that's because that's all when all the stuff with Hugo Chavez and everything was going down over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it'd have been a bad time to enter Venezuela.
Now, was that where you were taking them, is to Venezuela?
As far as I knew, that's where I was going to be flying them to.
Wow. Yeah, it was a crazy days and crazy times under that regime. You go through this thing and you tell the story of everything. What do you hope people come away with when they read the book or educating people on human trafficking?
I think it's just to know that, there might, because I'm not so sure. Like you were talking about people being loaded in trucks and driven across borders, and I'm sure that happens as well. It's not just that. I think you've got the kidnapped type of people that were stolen, and got ones because I think these girls believed that they were going somewhere, probably offered something better than what they had in China, and so they thought that they were going to get somewhere. And it turned out not to be true. They were lied to. I was lied to. Everyone was kind of just,
Note to self, don't pick up any chicks who say people refer to as their nieces.
Yeah.
I've learned that lesson. So far from having you on the show. Maybe another lesson is next time do cocaine for Tony Montana. Sorry, it's a callback joke now, so we're just running with it. So this is pretty interesting. And is your family in Utah?
Now?
Or then, either way, I mean.
My wife was still in Thailand.
Okay.
She was pregnant with my first son.
Uh-huh.
My mom and dad were in Utah. And so, like, whenever I was able to make contact with my dad, and he was just like, you got to be kidding me. What the hell? Well, last they knew, I was in Thailand. And he's okay, let me see what I can do. And he made some phone calls. And back then, there was a Senator, Orrin Hatch.
Yeah.
And he made contact with him. He made contact with the embassy. And then they were able to wire money. And I still had to go back to court. And see, that's the thing. The whole thing, everyone's on the take over there.
Yeah.
I went to court. It had nothing to do with, they never charged me with a crime. It was just to pay them money.
Oh, so bad payoffs.
Yeah. Even the judge, they called it the magistrate, and the magistrate took me into his office, had me sit there alone, and then basically told me, "Here, give me this much money, and I'll give you back your passport."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that is wild, man. That is wild. And so you had to raise some money to buy your way out of there, basically? Is that?
My dad wired it to me.
Oh, wow. Man. I would have paid him in the Monopoly money and then gotten out of there. But no, I imagine you were pretty happy to get the hell out of there when they released you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Did they even let you talk to the consulate, the American consulate?
No, not while I was being held.
Wow.
It was after I got out, I was able to talk to them. When I got out, it was like on a bail situation. I got out and I was told to return in a week to go to court.
Wow, that's wild, man. So you go through this whole experience, and what lessons did you learn other than giving your wife an eternal "I told you so" moment for the rest of that she can beat you over the head with for the rest of your life?
Be able to pay that back. The main thing I learned was, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. And just think more about than just the aspect of flying airplanes. Think about, other things. I mean,
yeah. Legalities of this, that, and the other, and possession's 9/10 the law. You got to be careful. I always watch that cop show. Anytime I get really depressed at life, and I don't usually get too depressed anymore, but anytime I used to get depressed back in the days and think my life was just going to hell, even though it really wasn't. But this sucks. You have a few vodkas, you kick back. So I had to watch Cops, the TV show. And that's where I learned you got to be careful who you have in your car, because if they have drugs on them, you can be possession's 9/10 the law. They could slide in your seat, and then you're responsible for it, and all this stuff. So yeah, you got to be careful who you allow in your vehicles and all that stuff. And it sounds like you kind of got out of there with a great story, maybe, and that's what you're doing. Is your mom? You're getting your dad's money back through book sales.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, your dad is for the rest of his life. He probably won't let you live it down either. So between the wife, I told you, son, the dad, you still owe me that money.
Oh yeah, my siblings, everyone talks. Oh, this is my brother Pete. He's an idiot. He's going down to Guyana.
Oh man, we do these things in life. This is the beauty of all the stories and authors and books that we have on the show. You have a story that not a lot of people have. It's an interesting story, and you lived through it. So it came out hopefully good in the end, and you're using the book to educate people on human trafficking and dangers, and basically that cocaine smuggling might be less dangerous. I don't know. I'm just doing. It's just not. I don't even know what I'm saying there. How can it be less dangerous? Anyway, Florida jokes.
Yeah.
You're probably more cautious now, and you've learned from that, and you be careful, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. Which is also use that as a guide to all those MLMs you guys have there in Utah. Oh, shots fired. And did we lose a sponsor too? No, we didn't, because we wouldn't take money from those people. Anyway, my dad used to be in hundreds of those stupid things.
Oh yeah,
in Utah. Amway, started with Amway. As a kid, I was going to those things, and there was a point in his life where I was like, Dad, you've been in so many MLMs. Every week he was in one, new one. I'm like, it's one of them. Don't just give you an honorable board member there. But anyway, enough of Utah and their MLMs and too good to be true, which I think isn't that the state motto? Utah, too good to be true. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just teasing. My mom lives in Utah, and my sister gets to visit there a lot from Vegas. Anyway, is there any future books coming out maybe that you're working on, or other stories now that you're an author? I
don't know. I'd have to look through my life. I don't know. I'll just write true stories. So maybe write about some girls that I dated or something.
Yeah. Your wife will appreciate that too, I'm sure.
On her yard, she pees around me all the time, gets ticked off. I run into someone that I dated before. Oh, she looks stupid. She looked fat.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of how they roll. But it's interesting. So you wrote this book. How did you know that you were going to be good at being a writer, that you were good at telling the story? Imagine you're kind of like me. You shaped these stories over life of getting good at telling all the details and setting up the suspense. It was probably easy to write the book and put it down after all these years.
Yeah, because my whole life ever since, like I was saying, I'd go over to my older sister. She'd have a friend there, and she'd be like, "Oh, this is my brother Pete. Let him tell you his story about Guyana." And so everyone would always ask me, so I'd retold it time and time again. And then everyone was saying, "You need to write a book. You need to write a book." So I didn't really know that I was a good writer. I didn't even think I was a good writer. I was just like, well, I'll write down my story and just put it down how I remember it happening. And even now, sometimes I'll read through the book that I wrote and I'll say, oh, dang it, I missed that one part. I should have wrote that in there. There's something missing. Insignificant part, but still.
Yeah. If you self-publish, you can go back and edit it. If you publish through a big producer thing there, they usually don't let you do that. So if you self-publish, you're good to go. Yeah. And maybe you can make a second book. Lessons learned from almost dying in prison, whatever sort of title you want to put on it to give it that juice, as it were. But hey, man, this is what we do. As human beings, we get in all sorts of stories and issues and quandaries and everything else, and we live through them, and then we go tell other people, hey, maybe you don't want to do that because I tried that, and yeah, it doesn't work out well. So which explains most of my life. We all make mistakes. We all do interesting things, but it's the key that we survive, the phoenix that rises from the ashes. That's the real key. What are some other questions that maybe I should have asked you that we should know about that maybe are in the book or add to the story, as it were?
Yeah, I still do fly. I don't fly I'm commercial rated, but I don't do it for work. I just fly for fun, basically. Call it flight therapy. Go up in the air and
flight therapy. Yeah. I like that. I got a friend who flies all sorts of stuff for contract, and he does really well with it. And so it takes a lot of talent and skill. I'm one of those people who's lazy. I have ADHD severely and OCD. And so I know if I ever became a pilot, I'd always skip that pre-check thing. And then I'd die with ice on the wings or some crap. Be like, oh, crap, I forgot to fill up the gas tank. That sort of crap. That's what I get into. Yeah. So, but I love flight. I think it's so wonderful. That moment that you leave the ground and you feel the air take the wings.
Yeah.
Is just, that's the juice right there. I love that, even on a big plane. But I was watching, I guess I was doom scrolling last night or the night before, and I got into the Bush pilots up there in Alaska.
Yeah.
Not the OnlyFans Bush pilots, but the Bush pilots in Alaska. People are like, he was doom screaming late at night. And I started watching because I'm always fascinated how they can take off with very little runway or like a riverbank. I watched one today take off a riverbank, and it was all just hard river rock. Yeah. And I was just like, dude. And then, of course, you see them. They can stop those things pretty much on a dime almost, at least the good ones. And you're just like, I don't know, man. But flight's so beautiful and stuff. Maybe you could figure out a way to use. That's a hell of a hobby, too, by the way. I thought my photography hobby was expensive, but that's a whole new level of expense there.
That's why I became a flight instructor. So another people pay for your hobby.
Yeah. And then you probably teach them all, don't ever pick up some nieces from nobody.
Yeah. You see some Chinese girls with their thumb out, just go on by.
Just keep right on trucking there. On trucking. So nothing happened to you in the U.S.? You didn't get any trouble for anything over here when you got back, huh?
No, because I didn't break any laws in the U.S. They didn't charge me there either. I don't think I broke any laws, period. It was just
a shakedown.
Yeah.
I think money.
Tsao didn't get his money, and he had buddies in the police force there, so just...
Do you think the one guy who had his hands up early on, do you think he set you up or turned you in, maybe? The whole thing was a money setup. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was an associate of Mr. Tsao's, and I think... I'm not 100% sure, but I think the airplane belonged to him.
Oh.
And it's like, if the airplane belonged to him, then why the hell did they need me to fly it? You know what I mean? He
exactly.
Flied himself, but I don't know. So I just think that he was just there. He was there along for the ride, because how was that airplane getting back from Venezuela?
Did they arrest him?
No, they let him go.
Maybe he was on the take. He set you up as the fall guy because you were the pilot.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I'm just here to fly out on a plane. That's what we'd always tell Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
Or I used to tell Spirit Airlines when they were in Cutwater. still in business.
Great.
So in fact, I think you can pick up some of those planes, the Spirit Airlines planes on Facebook Marketplace, like $50 or something. Park one in front of your house.
Could I fly with one of those? 727,
yeah. Get one for the backyard, turn in Airbnb. There's a lot of them they probably have.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
they're Spirit Airlines, so they're probably smell like a Greyhound bus after a 12-hour trip. Urine, poop, and what else? Now I'm going to get sued by Greyhound. But you can't sue me for stuff that's true. Ha, ha, ha! Anyway, that's not right, Chris. There's wonderful people that ride the bus.
Yeah, I rode the bus.
I like how you finished my setup on it. You're like, yeah, sure. I had some friends that went on a Greyhound bus, and when I dropped them off, I was like, is it all homeless people in the lobby here, and they're going to be on that bus? And then they told me some stories, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll hitchhike from here on out, because I don't know.
Yeah, you get hepatitis.
Do you ever think about going back, maybe, and I don't know, prosecuting the judge, took the bribe, or you just wash your hands of it? I don't want nothing to do with that.
How am I going to go and prosecute a judge in a rural country where he probably owns the town? Yeah. And maybe he was collecting when I paid him. That was some of the money supposed to go to Mr. Tsao. I really don't know how. Well,
at least he didn't ask for sexual favors. That's what happened to me in Tijuana. I was down there with a buddy, and no, I'm just kidding.
Do a donkey show?
Yeah, it was the donkey show. And my buddy was causing some trouble. And anyway, that's the joke I always tell when people meet me at parties and stuff that are hosted by someone. They're like, "How did you and John meet?" And I'm like, "It's a long story, kind of sorted. I probably shouldn't tell it." And they're like, "Oh, you got to tell it." And I'm like, "We met in Tijuana at the donkey show." And then he got drunk, and we were both pretty messed up, and they arrested us. And then we had to become drug traffickers with our bodies. I forget what they call that term. And walk the drugs across the border. So when you lay next to a table where they're filling your bowels with and your colon with bags of cocaine, and then you have to waddle across the border with them, with another person, you become really good friends. And we've been friends ever since. And people just look at me like,
what?
What the hell? When was John in Tijuana? Like, it was a lot of years ago. Anyway, Tijuana jokes, folks. That's where I get my Scarface references from. Anyway, there's a lot of cocaine jokes, and there's no cocaine in your book, evidently, in your story, evidently. So I don't know why I'm pulling that card, but it's a great callback. Anything more we need to know about what you're doing there? Are you doing any speaking, touring, telling people about your book signings, anything like that?
You're the second interview I've done regarding my book.
Cool.
And then I would like to see if I could get it into film.
Yeah.
Talking to people, but I don't know what's going to happen with that.
What was that movie with Tom Cruise? I never watched it. I just always see pieces of it on the social media there. And but evidently he's a pilot or something, and he gets recruited by the CIA or the drug dealers or both, or I don't know. I haven't watched the movie clearly, but maybe it could be a story like that. You can get Tom Cruise to play it.
I need someone who's 24 when I was 24.
Can he pass for 24? I think he always looks so young. He doesn't really age much.
A lot of those guys, they get so much plastic surgery, they have more ass on their face than face. So who knows?
I think he's still four foot tall. So there's that. Yeah. Anyway, I like to do my Tom Cruise jokes on the show. So as we go out, give people a final pitch out. .coms, where websites they can find out more about you and order up the book, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's just peterstorrer.com. That's spelled Peter, STORRER.com. And you can also go on to Amazon or go on to barnesandnoble.com, and they have it as well.
Get one for your favorite niece. That's what we do. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Peter. It's been wonderful to have you. And like you say, stay away from anything that's too good to be true. That's why I'm still single after 58 years. Anyway, that's a marriage joke. So thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Monis, for tuning in. Order up his book wherever fine books are sold. You can find a link to it on the Chris Voss Show. Memoirs of a Human Trafficker. My Journey, a Travel Guide, out October 23rd, 2025, and probably sounds like a nice suspense journey to go through and maybe a good warning sign for people. And of course, watch out for people that might be human trafficked and maybe help save them if you think they're in trouble. Anyway, guys, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.